Yep, I remember when I bought some from them.
It's real lean.
in the past.
God, I think it's good.
We closed our meeting last
Order
time,
half.
so that we had-
Yeah, I don't know if they have, I don't know if they do it anymore.
I've eaten
That was his
buffalo
ordinance,
a few
wasn't
different times at somewhere here in South Dakota.
But
Well, I'll tell you
you
what,
gotta be
that
a little careful
buffalo
with
burger,
this
they might
ordinance
mix
'cause
something with it, but
it's-
a buffalo steak is about the driest steak.
Oh, yes.
Piece of sheet leather you've ever eaten.
That number.
And I ordered
Yeah.
it medium rare. It certainly didn't overcook it. It was still dry.
I wonder how much of that depends on how they finish them, because I know my parents had bought buffalo before, said it was tender, but I know when they bought it, it was like a buffalo, went into a feedlot, just like a steer,
Yeah.
and they fed it that kind of thing, corn.
Fattened her up. Yeah.
Fattened it that way, I don't know. If you pull, even if it's young, you pull one right off the grass, I don't know. I don't know.
I think it was the marijuana.
No, it was basically, it was about like eating deer meat,
It's dry.
Yeah. Jeremy Stevens, I bought a lot of beef from Jeremy Stevens. And I asked him one time, I said, so is this thing been on a full feed of corn? He goes, well, yeah. He goes, they recommend that they should be on a full feed of corn for 90 days. He goes, this one's been on about 6 months longer than that. There was marbling in the sirloin steaks.
That was back when corn was cheap.
Boy, I'll tell you what, that was good beef.
Oh,
If you just kept catching on fire on the grill.
just curious, that's odd.
I
I
can
never
keep the
designed that.
sweat that
Yeah.
it produces. This year was easier than last year.
What percentage of Wisconsin
South
have
Hampton
rabbit?
doesn't have a full-fledged district. They just-
Is it 1 in 100 or is it 30 out of 100?
The children are 200 departments.
I know.
That'd be something for your,
CO.
your game
Those
fish
departments.
Yeah.
We'll take.
officer.
So like re-ice and
I got a skunk that eats at my house every day.
And then they'll give something.
Out of the outside cat food dish.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he comes right up to me and sits at my feet.
Apparently, you're not a very good shot.
Well, he's in town.
Real tame.
Yeah,
Nice.
You're feeding him. Wow.
You'd be real dead at my house,
He really did.
tame or not.
Do you keep beef back yourself, or if you just get sick ones, or do you keep them?
I usually take what, I'll have one that have
Bad ears or something.
bad ears and, docktail.
I'm coming for the
Where they won't-
treats.
Where they
I
won't,
can smell
where they won't give you nothing.
You better stay away from the
them.
They're
I
the
will
ones that
stay
feed.
stay
They're
away from
wrong.
the
Right.
chocolate.
Lots
The
of my problem.
taffy is my
Yeah,
downfall.
The Dove chocolate is gonna be
Oh, it's good.
77%.
No, I don't.
Dark pick out.
I would like to. A good one.
77%
But
easy.
they feed.
I love dark, but this is too dark.
They feed good.
That is good.
But if you don't believe it, try it.
Something that.
You're gonna think it's not sweet enough.
We even took one that was.
Teresa got a bunch of taffy at Hill City when they were out in the hills recently. And they had one that was a coffee something. Oh, it was about it.
Oh, I'm like, oh.
That's okay.
It was like,
Yeah.
it was like
Rest of
like
it.
cappuccino flavor, I guess, or whatever.
I know that's what Dennis was.
That'd be
Last few he's done, he just says grind it all.
Thank you.
They
Oh, she could have got a whole
give you
grocery sack full of those ones, but
Well, we got a friend out
Mr.
here.
Makes a
Diabetic
difference.
doesn't need it.
Grind it all up.
Oh, yeah, you can't. We got a friend out here, they make jerky.
Oh, wow, it is darker even.
It's too dark. It presses it out. It's not real dry, but it's not. She's
got it perfected, huh?
She's got it down to. Look, that is, she brings it to me. Yeah, she goes. You get 20 pounds take 20 pounds of burger. She said, you probably end up with about 8 pounds of jerky. So you lose a lot, just dehydrates out.
I was gonna say, if I remember right, they always said, if I remember right, the butcher said, if you get like a whole muscle type meat and you
Not
fry it,
terrible, I
you
think
get
I
about a
like it.
third.
Yeah.
It
That's
is
what I
pretty
heard.
dark.
There's 2 lemons.
I don't need any more.
I can't tell which one is the worst.
I have enough. I'm good.
You might have gotten a bad one.
I think I got the darkest one possible. I feel like I
Hey,
did
you
it
don't
right.
like dark?
I love dark chocolate, but this is too dark.
Too dark, too dark.
It's 77% cocoa.
My wife likes the Dove dark chocolate ones.
So do I.
Those are the ones she
Well,
picks if she get like a.
What the hell are you doing? That would be that dark.
right here.
It's right in the back, but
There's a Dove, dark, deepest dark, I think it says. But there's one that's worse.
Give me the
It almost
worst-
turns powdery, doesn't it?
Give me the worst one, then I won't want another.
There you go, supposedly that's the worst one.
I think you'll spit that out.
Really?
Yeah.
You never seen me?
I love dark chocolate.
Gotta be a little bad. We're just waiting for Jim to get here.
You want one?
Well, when you're not really a good salesman.
This is
If that's the worst I ever ate, I'd be in trouble.
That isn't the worst?
Like when he used to steal his grandma's cooking chocolate out of the cupboard. You know, it wasn't really sweet, it's more than bitter.
Yeah, semi.
I like that.
But there's two different.
The only time you get old.
Don't forget, when I just drive down here by 5 p.m. It's not repeating tonight. Hear me, Jim? Let's try to get out of here by 5, so let's not repeat each other.
Yeah. Let's not repeat it, Jay, so we can get out of here by 5. Did you hear that? I'm kidding myself.
There you went. There's your one. There's your one.
One strike.
We're gonna do the consent agenda, and then we're gonna talk to Sarah for a minute so she can get out of here. We're up and running.
A motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Sarah, you wanna talk to us for a minute?
All I get's a minute?
Well, maybe 2 if you really talk nice. Since you ate a piece of Jim's chocolate. That's keeping him
This
quiet.
is the agenda if you wanna, or this is the contract. Sorry,
I need-
you need one too?
No, we just got one too many.
I have a couple more. Does anybody else need a copy of it?
Are we the
Paperwork
first
copy?
one?
No, I've got 4 signed. So you remember, my name is Sarah Newman. I've been doing the victim witness coordinator position for Eastern Central South Dakota since December 1st of last year. It's been going well. The intergovernmental agreement is pretty much the same. A couple minor typing errors were fixed, along with the dates in number 14 changed to 2022. We had, if you recall, Falk County declined last year in being part of this. We continued without Falk County for 2021, just where we sat. In June, I believe, I reached out to Deech Cook and the commissioners in Gerald County and asked if they would consider taking that 10th county to make it work. And I met with them and that was approved. They paid a sum of $800 to join in on September 1st through the end of the year. So they're in for this year.
2000.
So we really only lost about 7 months. There was no change in any of the fees, but we're excited that we still have 10 counties in all to do this.
Is our assessment based on our population or our number of cases?
Neither, it's just kind of the county size, I guess, might kind of figure the bigger counties that we've done the most in had the higher of the 2. Appendix A on about page 4 or 5 is a breakdown of the counties. Han County is, I believe the price went up $200 maybe. Was it 2,000 last year or 2,200?
It's actually lower than it was 2 years ago, so.
It's lower than it was 2 years ago, because when we agreed to have me kind of in an interim position to see how this was gonna work, I'm already a Beetle County employee, so I'm granted some leniency to work in these other counties as a contracted person. So the price went considerably down. I'm paid $1,250 a month plus mileage to serve these 10 counties. So yes, the price, and I don't see it going up. This is actually, I think this is the same as last year because Mike said we'll stay the same for 2 or 3 years. But we did add Gerald County in there and let them come in at the 2,000. And then Spink and Kingsbury are still the big two at 4,000, and the rest of the counties.
3 budget years, you spent 6,500.
This is the alcohol money that comes back to the counties, and I think it's included in Elton's budget.
I'm looking at Hand and Hyde County, and they're the same, and Hand is twice the size physically as Hyde and twice the population, but we're both 2,200.
Are you
Yeah.
trying to get us to pay more?
Yeah.
I think Hyde is spending a little more than maybe they need to.
What if we both ended up on the minimum, maybe?
Huh?
Maybe we both ended up on the minimum.
Maybe. Do we need to approve this
You
contract?
can, I think you can approve it. I don't know if it can be signed if it wasn't added before. I'm not sure.
Because it wasn't on the agenda, she can review it, but you probably should act on it until next month.
Okay. Looks fine to me.
But yeah, it's about the same. If you want any breakdown of the demographics in Han County, when I started, there was 3 pending cases in Han County that I got right away when I took on in December. There are 13 pending now. 2 cases were closed in 2021 and 12 have been added new, if that tells you the amount of cases that I've worked with victims in your county. So there are 12 pending cases right now that I'm actively working on victims in your county.
Has that been kind of, I don't say routine, but is that
Pretty
all,
standard,
has that been
yep,
pretty standard throughout
yep.
the other counties?
I would say we probably have at any given time, Han County they're pretty good about sharing or looping me in to work with victim services. Some of those smaller counties like Hyde County, I think I have 1 pending case in Hyde right now, maybe 2 in Sully County, 3 or 4 in Minor County, couple in Sanborn County, couple in Gerald County. So not a lot, but on the cases that I'm looped in on, I am happy to provide victim services, and I think it's going well. I do a monthly breakdown of all of the cases in all the counties, and that's shared with your state's attorney on a monthly basis as well as your auditor. So if you ever have questions halfway through the month of what that looks like, it's always accessible to you through the auditor or through the state's attorney.
We did budget for this, did we not?
Yeah. $6,000 was put in there for victim service.
Oh, good.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Sounds
Thanks.
good.
Yeah,
Thank
nice
you.
to see you guys. Yep, have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you want an extra couple copies?
I'll take them if you don't like your email.
Yep, I'm good with them. That's just what I got.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yep, you guys have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
No, she's not.
I just wrote a whole,
Right? Is that right? Is it working?
Yep. Yep.
Oh, old business.
You're not running it. Who are you?
Do we have to approve this other stuff?
Oh, okay, sorry.
And Miss Lacey's.
Minutes.
I think we,
And actually.
No, that's all approved,
Is she
okay.
coming?
yeah, I think we did that.
Okay.
She's not even doing it.
Here, it's Keisha.
They're looking for somebody at the Redfield Crisis Center. If you know anybody that wants a job,
Yeah, they are.
that'd be a great place to get into too, I think, for serving victims.
Do you want to get some to them?
Ready? Yes.
Ready.
How are we doing?
Morning. Afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good to see you. So it's been a while since I've given my quarterly report. Last time I was here, we talked about budgeting. So this time I'm specifically talking about what we have going on, some exciting things, not only on hand, but in our community. The first thing is our recruitment program. Last year, I told you that we set aside $15,000 for this program. We just found out this week that we were awarded $15,000 from the Governor's Office of Economic Development to match our $15,000. So instead of $15,000 for jobs for Han County, we now have 30, which is super exciting. This is a matching program for any business in Han County to utilize. We've used it 3 times now. And all of these 3 jobs were agriculture, just so we know. It can be any business, farmer, rancher, whoever is looking for jobs.
How long is that money available from the state for a year?
They have to get rid of it by the end of 2021. I'm not sure exactly, we haven't gotten all the rules and the criteria of when we have to use it, but we can only use it for recruitment of employees in the matching, like what we have set aside.
Is that a line item under the COVID Relief Act?
I'm not sure. That'd be a Joe Fiala question.
Okay.
So that is super exciting. Also related to jobs, on Wednesday, October 20th, we are part of the Career Here event, and this is in Redfield, where about 300 area high school sophomores and juniors come. This is not a career fair, but this is where kids come and talk to people like me or business owners about opportunities in rural towns specifically. So I even bring businesses from Hand County to this event where they can talk to them and talk about how much money do you make? How much money does it cost to live there? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? This will be the second annual, and it's a great opportunity to talk to kids and see what they want to do with their future. And it's pretty unbelievable the amount of kids that want to come back to their hometowns or to rural towns. So really excited about that coming up. Our revolving loan fund, since talking to you last, I've given out another application. We have just over $600,000 out in our community, which affects about 80 employees. We have funds available in our revolving loan fund, so all they need to do is visit with me about that. Hotel study, I wish I had something super exciting to report back to you. We are still looking for investors on our project. We haven't given up. We're still looking. We had a successful study. COVID happened, and that's where we're at. Business visits, I'm at 102 this year, and we're also working with the current businesses for sale in our area, helping find buyers for that. I'm getting out the word in other communities. Industrial park, we have sold. We have an agreement for our last lot, and our current lot is sold. Just waiting on the paperwork there. And we'll be looking for another area once we have businesses who want to come in, because then we'll be eligible for grant funding.
Have you got some particular real estate in mind?
Not right now. Housing, we are still working with the school on a potential area. We have some hoops to get through there, so we're still working on that. I'm going to skip all of our quality for life projects because there's not a lot new there. Our Miller Community Center donning wall, the Welcome to Miller sign, we have not gotten going on it yet. We have to work with the DOT on the location, and the flowers on Main Street will come off. The signs and awnings program, we have 2 new signs for some businesses that we've worked with coming up, and we're going to see some new awnings on Main Street. You've probably seen one already on Hand County Title. They took advantage of our awning program, as well as you're going to see quite a few more here shortly. Promotion of Hand County, every week I do a radio interview about what's going on, an article to the Miller Press, Facebook and Instagram, and our website. Our website has seen a 97.8% increase of traffic from this time last year. I believe it's because we're pushing it out so much, but also our jobs listing page has exploded. It's the #1 page, and then news and rental properties. Public speaking, so since I last visited with you here, I spoke at the Heartland Power Summer Conference. There's about 200 people from around the state, including senators, representatives. I talked about Hand County, how we all work together, Miller, the whole area. It was a great conference, well received. And then the Energize Conference, I was a guest speaker at that. In Millbank, there was about 150 people there. And that topic was our Main Street and Miller specifically, and what economic development has done for our Main Street and how we keeping it look the way it looks and how we work with the businesses and the pride there. And then the last one I spoke in was in Pierre it was a panel with Mike Rounds about meat prices and how do we help current businesses and the farmers with what's going on there. That was an invite only, but we got lots of great press on that, and the media was there as well. Our community center is really busy. It's starting to wind down. We've had 7 big weddings for 2021 and just a couple left. 310 total events for this year, which is the highest that I've seen in a while. Friendship Center hosted the Molly B concert. That was a huge success, and there was over 325 people there. And then Smoke on the Prairie was another big event in September. There was about 200 people at that one. And we're going to bring back our one and only fundraiser for the year, and that's the Dueling Duels, and that'll be in February. Summer's Bar. So I know we talk about this one a lot. Remember when I started here
And one of the questions, I think it was you, Jim, that asked me is how is On Hand helping some of these bars get going and get started? Well, you know that we inherited Summers Bar. We've cleaned it up quite a bit. We've listed it with cost agency. We're asking $40,000. We've showed the property several times. We have somebody interested. So super exciting. We own the liquor license for that property. In order to keep the liquor license, we have to do some sales. It's not because we're trying to compete against the other businesses, but in order to keep that license for our county, for our city, we have to show that it's active because our 2 years is up. So we will be doing some limited hours. People can contact me for that because I don't have them posted. It's kind of when our help is available type of thing. But that's the update on Summers. Other news, I was accepted into the South Dakota Nonprofit Capacity Program. I have 2 classes left and then I'll get my certification. I'm attending a conference tomorrow in Pierre Natural Gas. We're working on, with a grant from the GOD to help with cover some of the feasibility study to see if we can get natural gas to come to Miller. This summer we got a grant to help the wrestling club paint the Teason home. That was 100% covered by South Dakota Housing Authority, Thrivent Lutheran, and lots of other local donations were chipped in for all the supplies and the materials. It was pretty impressive, and we got some coverage on CalLine for that. And we're working with the GOD on a potential new business in Han County. This would be in the ag field. Potential for 13 to 15 jobs, which would be great. I visited with some area farmers about this opportunity to gauge their level of support, and we're just waiting to hear back on which area they're going to be coming to in South Dakota, but Han County is in the top 3 of their list. Our strategic planning session is set for sometime in November. So this is where we set our goals and our priorities for next year, but also the years to come, because a lot of our projects take so long, much like yours. We invite any of you to come. You're always welcome. And that's all I have for today. What's questions? Yep.
One, do you intend to start submitting your articles, which appear in the Miller Press, which are very good in my view, to that publication that comes in with the Plainsman? I can't think of what they call their little
Payday.
Prairie Tracks.
Prairie Tracks.
Prairie Tracks, we had a contract for that with them. They used to not charge. They are now doing a $300 per.
Oh,
So
that's why you're not in there anymore?
Correct. We would much rather, if we have the little budget that we have, we'd much rather support local than Prairie Tracks.
Okay. Second, can any of that $30,000 jobs money be used to supplement the hourly wage that some of our people are offering and can't get any takers for? I talked to a local business person in the construction business. He's offering $25 an hour to get a single person to apply for a job. He said for the same job in Pierre, they're offering 28. Nobody in Pierre is getting anybody to apply for those jobs. Could you take 5 and make it 30? $5 an hour for a year, for example, and make his offer a $30 job?
Possibly. I haven't gotten all the rules.
I asked him, I said, how was business this year? He said it was fantastic. It could have been twice as good
Right.
if I had had enough employees. I
Right.
can't get anybody to work for me.
If they, possibly, yes.
Okay.
So we just found out about this program like this week. So it's really new. I haven't read through all the fine print yet. But there is opportunities for businesses if they are, what's that called when you go from, if you pay them more or if they train and to go up higher in their job, there is opportunities that we could use this funds, but it's matching. So if the business says we want to match, so On Hand would give 1,000, GOED's money would be 1,000, then the business has to give 1,000. They like to see that for recruitment of new employees to help.
Propane, how many are still heating the fuel up? I had somebody else ask me this question. They claim there's a large number of them are still using fuel up with the idea of natural gas coming in. If you just converted them, people would be a lot, but I don't know that.
I don't have that information. I think that once we get to the point of getting the feasibility study for our area, we would get that because they're going to want to see that I wish I had that with me. If it's 25% have to switch over, 75%, I don't know, so I'm not gonna say, but they're gonna wanna see that a certain number would switch over. We haven't got that information yet because we haven't taken it to that next level of the feasibility study. We're waiting on the other communities to see if they're gonna commit to the study, and then we go from there.
Are you getting any dissension amongst the people who are presently in the propane business on the natural gas?
Yes, yeah. And the other communities are as well. Yep.
Which is to be expected.
Yes. And to be clear, that's a City of Miller representative on hand, has been assisting with if we can find some grant funds through GOED, if we can help bring the groups together, because it's all these other communities. So we've sponsored some meetings via Zoom, but it is a City of Miller. I'm not the representative for that one, so,
Okay.
but we work with them. What else?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I know that Teddy brought up a possibility of soil testing being done in that area. Is that
No, I've called them. Nope, that's where we're at with the housing development, and I haven't gotten a call back yet.
Thank you, Keisha.
Yep, thanks guys, appreciate it.
Shane,
Yes, sir.
There you go. One more minute for you.
Thank you, Carolyn, it's, you didn't ask her too much.
Morning.
Morning.
Afternoon, whatever. First thing is I would like to ratify the hiring of Lisa Hone as a part-time, non-certified officer at that 20 or less hours a week we had talked about me hiring. So I have hired her. I'd like to start her off at the 18. That's kind of the going rate.
That's per your pay scale for your office?
Yes.
Should we need a motion for that or not?
Anything related to employees, change in status.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
what are we doing?
Motion made and seconded to approve this hire.
I hired that part-timer.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So is there intent just to
Motion carried.
fill in during Chelsea's absence, or is she gonna stay?
No, this will be a patrol deputy.
Okay.
Just to take some of the
Patrol, okay.
some of the weight off. And she's attending Lake Area Tech right now. She's a second year there. So once she graduates, she'll be searching full-time employment somewhere else.
Should be done in May.
Yeah.
Probably.
So, just a heads up, Chelsea is expecting, so she will be taking some maternity leave in January. So I will be looking for someone to replace her at the desk when I can. We already kind of put a bug in Sandy's ear again. She worked out really well last year. So.
Great.
So just a heads up that will probably happen. Our Zerker project is still underway. We have weekly meetings with them. Everything's going good. Other than that, just keeping up on our training. Josh will be attending training in Pier October 18th through the 20th. So, other than that, that's all I got really. Everything's going good. As far as I know.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Tell them marijuana comes to town, right?
Thanks, Shane.
Stick around for 3 hours.
I gotta ask even less than Shane did. He didn't want for nothing. I don't want anything today, so.
See ya.
I'm just coming to let you know, 4-H year wrapped up the end of September. We are starting over as of Friday, the brand new 4-H year, so we're looking for re-enrollments and new enrollments. This week is National 4-H Week, so we've got some stuff up at the school that went home with the kids Friday to kind of push it. West Ham Baby Beef has a display down at the Ace Annex building. And I'm not real sure what the other clubs are gonna do because they weren't real sure when we had our leaders meeting what they had lined up, but they're working on some plans for 4-H week. I have annual conference with SDSU annual conference, which is the 26th through the 28th
of October. That's in Brookings, and that's one of those mandatory professional development events that I have to go to. So I'll be going Tuesday. I'll leave Tuesday morning, and then I'll be back Thursday afternoon for that. From that, 4-H banquet is going to be the 14th of November. It's at 5:30. It's a Sunday evening. 5:30 potluck at the high school. You are all more than welcome to come. And we had a really good year. I'm most proud of our rodeo kids. We had a lot of kids that did really well at the fair, but I'm most proud of our rodeo kids. We had 21 kids that were signed up for rodeo. We had 3 that, for whatever reason, didn't participate at all, even though they were signed up. We had 1 that got hurt, and she was a big rodeoer, and she was bummed out she got hurt. We had 17 other kids that attended rodeos, and all 17 of them kids placed in the top 10 at least once. And all 17 of them, I believe, were at the state finals. And Lainey Stevens was the senior all-around cowgirl. So we were very well represented at state rodeo finals. State fair, we had a couple of calves do really well. We had mostly blues and purples at the fair, a few reds. But overall, I was really proud of all the kids. That's my wrap up. Like I said, I don't want anything today.
Is it unusual for a person to enter a photo locally in our 4-H days out here and get best in show? And apparently there were a lot of entries. Take the same photo to the state fair and get I think it was a red.
The criteria for best of show here were not necessarily a purple ribbon. It was a discretionary award that the judge, when they interviewed, they could pick their personal favorite. When they interviewed with the kids, if the kid had a problem and overcame the problem or had some kind of significant learning experience out of it, they could factor that in as well. It was not, it was a highly subjective award. There was not a specific criteria for
My
it.
neighbor kid was kind of bummed out.
Yeah, I know, I saw that, but the other thing I tell them is that judging is one particular person's opinion at one particular point in time.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
judging in and of itself by the nature of the beast is highly subjective, so. Yeah, we had some projects that did really well at Chima Days that kind of bombed at fair, but there's value in that too. You learn how to improve and take criticism, and it stinks sometimes, but.
Did you have any COVID issues this year, or did it not sail through pretty well?
Here or at the fair?
Anywhere.
I think other counties had some issues come up, but here I think we did all right. We didn't have to work around any parameters. Biggest issue we had at Achievement Days was those Quonsets, are like little baking ovens. And we have some families that keep their livestock in refrigerated barns so they grow their hair, and they're professional showmen.
Really hard to cool.
And it is really, and they were really worried about going from the cooler to those barns. Those animals are going to start shedding and they're not going to have any hair to fit before the fair. And so the policy had been that if you don't tie in the barns, you don't get a premium check. And this year they voted you could tie wherever you want. I'm not going to say I was necessarily in favor of that because of some safety concerns and stuff, and it was a little harder for the public to see them, but they pretty much made a little village over in the corner over here and set up trailers nicely and tied to their trailers over there, so that everything was tied outside, and then they brought their own canopies for shade. So that was the compromise. They're going to have a committee for next year to figure out some different stalling arrangements and stuff, but those Quonsets are at least maybe moving past their useful life, but there's nothing we can really do about them. So I don't know what they're going to come up with, and I don't know, maybe I've been kind of thinking about it, and to me, something, and I haven't put this past the leaders or anything yet, but my thought would be to put some like the tie-outs and the open class beef complex at the fair, those big outside tie-outs, maybe build some of those up in the northwest corner. And then they can bring canopies and shades there. I know Dottie was not very excited that they were down over by the Quonsets because that's where she sets up her dog stuff. And so the dog show was on Thursday and then cattle came in on Friday. But it had rained a little bit, and so I don't know how much those trailers tore up the grass and stuff in there. But she didn't have to worry about dog practice and stuff there, so I know that was one of her issues with them being tied up over there, but
Everything negotiated through well, though.
yeah, everything went,
Thank you, everybody, for that.
yeah, it was.
Good.
I was happy. Like I said, I think for Recognition Week it's gonna be kind of fun about all the stuff they did. I've got 4 families headed out to Western Junior today, so we'll see how that comes back.
Good.
So.
Thank you much.
Yep,
Appreciate it.
thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you, Ann.
They're all very efficient.
Yeah, we're moving through. Do you want to delay that till 2 on the property?
It was advertised.
Okay.
I have an item that's not on the agenda if you want to talk about it.
Randy, you around, yeah?
I've got not seen him in the building. I can send him a message to see.
Either Randy or Will to send him a message, then we'll go to whatever you want to talk about.
Okay.
So, keep moving. Bought a different brand of coffee, if anybody wants to
That's awesome.
taste it.
It's a blend of whatever that originally is, and then we got some of that stuff that's made in South Dakota and mixed them together.
Yeah,
What I got is with the surplus property, if we have desks and stuff, and one of the options is to sell it quickly, but it needs to be appraised and a price put on it. And so I was curious if 3 of you want to act as an appraising board, or do you want to appoint 3 employees to be the appraising board? And then we would put it for sale, we would just make our own list and involve an auctioneer.
no, we usually just use 2 people to do that.
Was it 2?
Yeah, so it wasn't classified as a meeting, and 3 of us together, or 2 and an outsider.
Yeah, so like, for
Maybe
example,
2 at a
department heads,
department head, or 2 department heads.
Is there a lot of things?
Two department heads, commissioner.
Yeah, something.
Is it all gonna be something that-
Might appraise something.
Yeah,
Two of us
It's gonna be
together
all-
or something.
yeah, like
You take 3 then.
the assessor, if I find pictures here correctly, she's got 2 desks that have the upright cabinet stuff, that she wants to get rid of. She's sent me pictures of it.
So currently we would have an auction.
Yeah, we would have to sit on it until next October, whereas if we do this, we would simply say, this item's available for $25.
Right. And that would help with our
Right.
storage issue, I would assume as well.
Yep.
We would like it online, deal with, Facebook page or whatever.
Yes,
Is that-
so here's an example. So it's like chairs and desks. We can put an ad in the newspaper, we can put it on Facebook, and there's no limitation on
Put ads in papers and all the work on Facebook.
that too.
You know, if you had a picture of the listing.
That's true.
Look here for this listing. These
We do
things.
that, you know, like an auction. We're having an auction, there's a couple of pictures, go to this auction site to look at the list, so.
There's an example of some of the items.
Do we have to have a price put on
It's supposed to be
Yeah, it's
appraised,
supposed to be appraised.
it? You can't just go to an auction.
right, because let's say that I wanted an iPad and I appraised it at $2, then I'm the first one in line. I mean, there has to be some rules, so if you're interested in doing that, then I would draw it up. So for example, if I'm peddling something out of my office, I probably shouldn't be an appraiser for it.
Would Clayton Keck or Dan Cost maybe come
I asked Clayton if he would, you know, and then consider putting it on one of his consignments. And then he told me that he didn't think he could get anything for it, it wouldn't be worth his time.
I would think we could just list them. I mean, pick them.
I know the city has, because
Yeah.
I bought stuff from City Hall that they just.
It's more like that's when you just put the base price on it.
Right. So if you're inclined to do that, I'll put that stuff together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get it approved in the future.
Get rid of it.
And the color.
Yeah.
It's nice stuff. I mean, there's people who probably want that stuff.
Something.
My house ain't big enough. Will,
All right. I am passing around a letter that I received from Claims and Associates for your information. I included this with the application for the Deadwood grant for the work to be done in the courtroom. This simply states the insurance company still hasn't gotten us a statement of loss, but I feel a whole lot better having this. The state accepted this as proof, part of the match funds for the plastering project. And they put it in writing that they are processing the claims. So as it stands right now, hopefully in the next, well, it's going to have to be before next meeting, we will have a statement of loss from the insurance company. And I have talked with the contractors. I think that I passed out, there's nothing secret there, but I gave you too much info. That's my copy of the report to Commissioner Palmer. I send him a report every month. So, but you can all read it. It's just what I'm doing on here. I have requested contracts from the contractors and certificates of insurance. They tell me they're getting those to me before. I don't have anything to give to you to sign today, but before we do sign anything, I want to make sure we've got the statement of loss done from the insurance company. The insurance company is just, they vote up to the fact that they're just going to have to come off their wallets on this. So that's where we stand on that. So I was hoping to have the contracts to give to you and the statement of loss, but we should have it pretty soon. And the contractors are ready. Well, one of them wanted to start in December, but for budgetary reasons and probably for Deadwood grant reasons, and probably there are probably about 3 other reasons. We really don't want to start doing the work until after January 1st. But we will get the plastering done this winter, starting sometime in January. So that's where we are on that. I've spoken with speaking of budgets and the end of the year, I spoke with the guy over in Highmore Furniture and Carpet Land. Surprise, they're back ordered now. They expect to get the carpet in sometime in November. I've spoken with Doug about this. If we can get it, the work started, it doesn't have to be finished by the end of by December 31st. If it started by December 31st, we can fit that into this year's budget. So I will stay after, if nothing else, get them over here, rip the carpet out. Also, it's not on the agenda, but for your information, I've been back on the phone with Protec, Adam at Protec, about the library roof, and they still have not received the insulation. And so when they get the insulation, they'll get up, provided they still got some weather to work with. So it's frankly, that's starting to get, it's not serious for us, but they're starting to get a little worried about that. So, but this is, it's like the carpet and some of the other things are just shortages. Started the furnace up, both furnaces, the furnaces are fine, they're in repair. We've got plenty of diesel out there, so we're good on all of that well into the winter. And we've got the chemicals we need for the furnace. I'm still waiting to hear from, this is for future work, waiting to hear back from the blind people. They haven't been out here yet to give us an estimate. And so surprise there.
Is there somebody here in town that sells blinds?
Westington.
Lori Danberg.
Yeah, that's, I guess I did.
Lori Danberg. Well, we're a ways off. I mean, we're not gonna do that this next year, but, you know, obviously, but it's Budget Lines out of Aberdeen, so that's who I've contacted, but, what was her name again?
Lori Danberg.
Lori's wife.
Danberg Interiors, I think, is
Yes,
the
that's
name
right.
for business, I believe.
She's nearby.
I have her number in the office.
Okay.
Was the carpet replacement, run by the sheriff's office people?
Yes.
They like the looks of it?
Yes, I took the, yes.
Okay.
I took the carpet sample, I took a bunch of carpet samples to Chelsea and to Ann, and they both agreed on the same carpet.
Good
And
for
I
you.
took it to the sheriff, and he said their opinion was fine with him.
Okay.
So, yes, sir, I did do that.
Okay.
Um,
Are these also vintage 92? Because they look very nice to me.
my understanding is that they all went through here in 1992 and replaced all of them.
Okay, so potentially they're in that condition in all these offices? Because I don't know if they.
Well, the problem that we're gonna start running into is what happened over in the Register of Deeds. One day they just came down. And when they came down, it busted them and there was no getting them back up there and putting them. It damaged them to the point that there was no replacing them. So I've got some temporary blinds over there now.
I imagine them, like Luke said,
Because it makes a difference on what side of the building you're.
Yeah.
Sites is a lot harder than this morning.
Now, another option is we get some professionals out here to look at it. I mean, I'm not wed to the idea of yanking all these things down. I mean, if we get some this is a little bit more than going to Walmart, and it's beyond my capability of getting blinds, which is I went to Menards for that across the way. They just didn't have anything in stock that was big enough and adequate enough, and the same thing. I could just put something up there temporarily to keep the sun out of the lady's eyes. But we get some professionals that do this, get out here and take a look at them. Some of these we might be able to save, and they may be able to just match what we've got and put back up.
It's not necessarily the blinds themselves that is the problem. It's the anchoring hardware.
It's the anchoring hardware, and and that's gone into the wood. That's probably going to stay up there another 100 years. The anchors that have gone into the concrete, you know, it's not as flexible as the wood. And now, granted, it took from 1992 to July of this year before it came down.
It's 30 years.
So,
And there's only one of them that come down so far.
so far. And the other issue that we're going to have, and kind of that I've mentioned, are the window seals failing. We have a few windows upstairs that were pulled out. When I say the windows, the interior of the window, the part that actually moves, take 4 screws out and they come out. So the ones that have been pulled out for the air conditioners, they're setting up in the attic. I took one and put it into the Register of Deeds office. What's starting to happen is that the seals, or the double pane seals, are starting to break, and you're getting condensation inside of them. The solution to that, and I've got one prize from House of Glass in Aberdeen that actually put the windows in, to reseal all of the windows, $16,000, almost $17,000. There again, like I said last time, that's nothing that we have to do next year. It's just something to stay on top of and budget for probably the following year. So.
Thank you, sir.
That's what I had. Any questions? There is one I would like to speak with you offline, Commissioner Palmer. In the report there's we do have an issue with the generator. The automatic switch is not working. So it worked. I had to go out, and when we had a power failure, I had to manually start it. So at your convenience, I'd like to talk to you about how to get that thing serviced.
On the topic of the elevator, does it sound like we will have a representative here next month?
I am trying for that. Doug got an email from the engineer that they think they might have something for us next time around. I've also spoken with the State Historical Society about them meeting at some point with the engineer and Otis about that. The idea being is if we can salvage some of that car and incorporate it into the new one that gets built eventually, then that will go a long way toward pacifying them and frankly pacifying me. I want to save some of that elevator because it's we can make it look historic. We want to do that. If we get them on my long-term thought on that is if we get them online for that, they won't even pay 10% of it if it's $250,000 or more. But I mean, if we can get $25,000 out of them for the car on another grant, it's worth trying. And it keeps them happy for future things if they're involved in it. So, but hopefully we'll have somebody out here next month on that. Now, kind of because of the plaster and the Deadwood grant application, I put that on the back burner. But now that the application's in, I'll move that to the front burner. Speaking of that, Schumacher Elevator was here today doing their quarterly service. He went through it and said everything was good. It's just the usual problems of age that we always had with it, but everything is functioning. So we do that once a quarter. He just happened to be here today, and we'll have to compare. On this one, we'll actually have two different bids. We'll have one from Schumacher and one from Otis, and see which one comes out better.
Good. Good. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Randy?
Copy for everybody.
Some more of them.
It's gonna make it off.
Somebody can use mine, we'll give it back at the end.
The 20-foot metal container ships have doubled in price since May. They're at $4,900 right now. And I have Dusty Mix Barn spray foam at $1,100. Rusty Pine was $2,300. And then I got some other quotes on Vivo sheds back there. An 8x12 and a 10x14 and a 10x16.
Do you need that big a building?
When you say before.
I mean,
20 footers,
what are you
2,900.
What are you really gonna put in there? Just your chemical to store for the winter months, or you wanna use this to store them in there all the time, or what's the deal?
In there all the time, because it can't be in the building.
And what about freezing and thawing?
Would have to get it
So about 14 and a 8x12.
All the chemical you got state that it can't be froze.
I called him, he says it's not good for it. It loses its power. It crystals up in the
16,
bottom.
well, that'd be getting right up there at the same.
So like, what do you
as a
average
20-foot container,
carry over? Okay.
and be better being 10 feet wide.
Well, sometimes we get a whole pallet of 2,4-D, 300 pounds. That's if we have time to roll it and we have it. Then we mix our own milestone and 2,4-D.
So you may carry over a
Pallet.
Well, I kinda asked him the other day, when you get a pickup load of stuff or a truckload of stuff, and he said it'd be more like a pickup load of stuff. That would be a truckload. Just trying to make up our money, and then could this building be used for something else, to just store
I'd like to put the lawnmower in there.
a lawnmower or
One
other
of
stuff.
the 4-wheelers maybe.
Or- My other question is, why is the electric bill out there $400 a month? $500 a month. What would be running out there that'd be giving them, well, you guys up there turning, in the winter time, I could understand you'd have some lights burning and stuff, but you'd even have heat on in the winter time. This time of year, what would be costing $500 a month out there to run electric?
No idea.
I think we better find out, because I'd pay for that building. We made it $300.
I pay for the power over Just building too. It's all electric is that whole lot.
Okay.
Oh,
So
so
that's
you're paying
that's all the building.
You're paying for that storage building that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, now
And then there's a building to the east of that, the Clark House.
Yeah.
That's got power in it.
The whole place is metered off for 1 meter.
Right. But what is any, do they heat any of that? Besides the.
They heat theirs.
Yeah, they have radiant heat in the
Yeah.
warehouse.
But in the summertime, that wouldn't be on. I'm hoping it ain't on.
The only thing,
The lights ain't on.
the only thing that runs in the summer is the air conditioner and
In your building.
Yep.
Air conditioner.
air conditioner, ice maker, and refrigerator.
There's a couple of refrigerators running in that room to the north, isn't there?
One.
Just one?
Then an ice machine in the shop, and that gets shut off in the winter time.
It just sounds like a lot to me. And then if you add another building and put another heater in that to store a pickup load of stuff. You know, it just, and I understand the prospect you gotta have another building, but I'm still not opposed to Jim's deal in the fall. When it gets time, you gotta start heating the building to surplus it. So, whatever carryover you got. I might say the heat bill, heat it all winter long and have to save the storage bill. You could still have a building for summertime storage, don't get me wrong, but for storage most of the year. But when you got time when it's freezing up, you ain't be spraying. Whatever you got left, you know. Rather than heat a building year round or shoot it all through the winter, it might be cheaper to get rid of the 50 gallons of product you got.
The discussion started with the chemical being in that building and the overwhelming smell of chemical when you walk in there, you know. So I'm still of the opinion that the chemical needs to be somewhere out of that building, you know, be it maybe an uninsulated storage container or whatever. It would have to be something that they could lock up, you know, so nobody's stealing chemical from us, but.
How about the highway department? Do they have any extra storage areas that they wouldn't be using over the winter time or for the year for that matter? I mean, why does it have to be at that location?
It'd be inconvenient to run after chemical off-site every time, I would think.
You're not gonna use it until spring.
Like our janitor though, if he had chemical that he ain't supposed to be storing on site or in the furnace room or something, I mean, this place could be available for him too. I mean, I ain't totally opposed to it, I just don't want to throw up another building, put another meter on it to heat something that costs, I don't know, you got 50 gallons of 2,4-D that costs $6 a gallon.
And 10 by 14, that's 140 square feet.
When you heat that.
And county can't find 140 square feet without having to build a building.
You heat it.
How secure,
Part of it is you gotta realize what he gets in the summertime and what he's using. He can't store where he's been storing.
Because of the
We've been
overall
told,
extension,
we should.
The insurance company said that.
Yeah. health considerations and all that.
that,
What about like the building up north? Is that full? Is that heated? That's heated, isn't it? Like on 26 and 45?
I think they get stuff still on there. I know the air compressor that's still on there a few years ago.
That isn't heated in the wintertime anyway, is it?
Not always. There's a furnace in it, but they don't always keep it on.
There's nothing down at the highway department, any of those buildings down there.
It's not that it's heated, I mean, you
Heated
have to
parts.
renovate
Heated
the
parts.
space for it.
Heated parts.
Most of your chemical, though, as long as it's on the premises out there, in the summertime, it's set outside, good.
I wouldn't set milestone at $300 a gallon outside.
No. I
But,
just keep that kind of close to a lot.
but my next question was gonna be is how secure do we consider that fenced-in lot to be? Because that open face shed to the east, we could maybe put chemical in there, but how secure is it gonna be, you know? Like I say, Milestone is far too expensive to have it disappear.
All the reefer trucks in Han County, they're setting out with spray brakes parked beside them all summer long. Every farmer known to man here anymore that owns a sprayer, open the back into, there it is, yeah.
Well, if one of those 20-foot storage containers would work for just storing the chemical out of the building, not worry about insulating it, then the only problem we have to solve is whether we're going to get rid of the chemical and not carry it over, or find somewhere to put it inside in the wintertime. But what I stated from the beginning about those storage containers, they don't lose any value. You know, if we decide 2 years or 5 years from now we don't need it, you can sell it for every dollar you paid for it. It's,
About 20-footer we're talking about here.
yeah, they just don't lose value. But
They go up fine, obviously, because they said they doubled.
Then they doubled from.
What would be the heat source? I
what's
see.
that?
From what he quoted me in May, they doubled in price.
Really?
What's the heat source for the 20-footer if you insulate it?
My chemical guy thought it was even not insulated.
Ships,
You put a heat lamp in there, it'll keep it warm enough to,
Once they start.
because it's sealed up, tight.
Yeah.
Got four little vents in them.
I know I've got 40, 50.
If you take the insulation off,
I'd
that's
rather
big.
get
That's
an
cheap.
extra diesel than build a building.
That's
So
not-
they turn the heat on.
You could do it with a light
It'd be cheaper to get it back.
Put a heat
Wow.
lamp in there.
and bank
Take it
insulation.
right next year on all that.
You could try it.
Yeah, we always do the insulation later at the end. I think that sounds reasonable.
And how many of the chemicals that you would be storing, does Milestone store okay if it freezes? Or is it, because some can't freeze, and some other ones it really doesn't affect them.
He recommended not letting any freeze.
Okay,
It crystallizes in the bottom or something, then you gotta try to shake it, get it uncrystallized, and it's weaker.
Would he store for us?
No,
Or buy it for us?
I don't think so.
I would move that we go for the 20-footer and we do it at whoever's providing the cheapest bid on it. Don't insulate, save about $5,000. Put a
It's
heat.
only $1,100 difference.
Yeah,
Oh,
Just spray foam.
am I reading it wrong?
this is what the total cost would be.
$1,100 is spray foam.
That's, just for the unit, and that's what the spray foam,
Okay,
and that's what the spray foam costs.
so we'd only save that much and that much. Sorry, I read it wrong.
so a 20-foot container is basically about $5,000, no?
Yep.
Really? I hauled one back from the cities just a few years back, maybe 5, and I think it cost me $1,900 up there.
I called him last week, he says, I don't even know if I can get one.
Really?
Like,
So now they're 3 times that, 2 or 3 times that.
Unreal.
and the 20-footers, pretty much brand new, it only made one trip,
Yeah.
because the 40-footers aren't used.
I got no neighbors got a camper trailer sitting out in the trees over there with the drag that up there, so. But I guess if you had a bunch of gallons around, they'd break the window out and steal it.
If I made a motion, I'd withdraw my motion.
Sounded to me like you never finished it. so.
Okay.
You wanna decide this now or?
How much chemical do you have left now? I mean, are you spraying yet?
Yeah, I'm gonna go get 5 more gallons of Milestone when I leave here.
And that'll get you through, you think? And then
Well, for the rest of the month.
So if you got a gallon left at the end of the year, we gotta build a building and put it in. I'm still stuck on that.
I know, me too.
How much other stuff's left right now?
Oh, there's probably 100 gallons of 2,4-D in there. There's like 40 gallons of 2,4-D ester in there. Then we got bare ground stuff, got Aquanit, Polaris, a few jugs of that, crop oil.
Do you store any gas out there or diesel or any of that stuff?
We got a 200-gallon barrel that we fill for Arlen has gas if the power goes out in winter. They can't get gas. And if we don't use any, then we use it up. But the pumps are gone.
And refresh it.
Yeah. But they took the pumps out there about a year ago. In the tanks.
Is that outside or outside?
Outside.
Anybody wanna decide this now?
Not really, we're gonna have to do something pretty soon.
Where are you storing it now?
Still in the office room.
Okay, I need to get it out of there. There's no empty buildings out there that you can use. How about some of these other ones that are hooked up to your electric heat or your meter? Is there any empty spots in any of them cold storage buildings?
Across the way to the south, if Jeff would let me put it in there.
What does he use it for? Just storage?
He puts all his plows in there in the wintertime, keep it warm.
At least I ought to get it out of your office for now. Till we decide this thing.
Well, actually, what you can do for right now is move it to that open face shed, put it out there. And we can talk to Jeff and see if there's a corner. Because what it's looking to me like is if we made a plywood box inside that building in a corner, would be plenty good. And it's heated.
And heated.
It's already heated by buildings.
If you find one in any building, you just put a heat lamp in. That's all you need. Any space in any building, right? Heated or not.
But I'm just
That
saying.
would work.
That would, I
It's
mean,
just gotta be prevention off, you know. Them sprayers themselves parked in there with the spray unit on them stink and smell like spray. Unless you really wash them down and clean them up good. I know mine does. But
We wash ours on windy days.
yeah, but you can clean them up, but that live spray is just a place to put it.
Here's just another random thought, but is there a chance that a surplus or used walk-in freezer that got updated, you know, from like a locker plant or something? That would be enclosed.
I would think any enclosure that would work and anything that was tight enclosed would take very little heat at all. But we could look for something like that too, just a surplus like upside freezer or something like that that would hold 50 gallons of stuff.
I will talk to Millerdale Colony. They, for whatever reason, mess around a lot with air conditioning units, freezer units and that kind of stuff. I'll go talk to them and see what I can find out that
Or a
something
big-
like a used walk-in freezer might be a good
Or
answer.
just a large metal cabinet.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go on.
I'll talk to surplus in here.
Yeah. We're gonna go on
Thank you,
to
Randy.
our 2 o'clock. We have some bids opening.
There's 2 envelopes.
This will be for the appraised value of property, minimum bid to cover taxes and data of 2120.25. We have 2 bids.
Can we over mine first?
you can.
Open them those, we'll find out what the
I'll just have this and go.
legal description is it's printed in the agenda.
This bid is for $6,552.17
For said property, right?
for said property.
Who's it from?
Michael Nicholson.
We'll call that bid number 1.
Yep.
Luke,
Sean Slonica, and he's got a bid for 3,300. 3,300 even.
I move we accept bid number 1.
of Michael
Nicholson
Nicholson.
for $6,552.17.
I will second Jim's motion.
Any discussion? We have a first, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries to sell property.
Okay,
Nicholson.
and then as a follow-up, if you do a motion to allow me to evade taxes appropriately.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
No,
They just told me a deal where to do an abatement.
Well, the money we get, we have to disperse to the entities just like we would the taxes. So you don't really do an abatement.
and they're gonna
It
say,
is in itself an abatement, isn't it?
Well, we have to change the tax, you know, I guess what we've always done in the past is just cancel out those old ones and enter new ones in the amount for the years.
come up here. So what how do you want us to motion this?
Oh,
We don't have to motion it?
yes, you do that,
Essentially, all we're doing is applying the proceeds towards the delinquent taxes,
right.
and then we would take the excess and distribute it.
No, it all goes to taxes.
It
We
all-
distribute to the taxing entities. If it's more than,
That's right.
if it's more than what we
Okay.
have listed, then we divide it among all the taxing entities
Which would be the school, the city,
and the county.
and the county.
What the overrun is.
Yeah,
goes
all
on.
of it.
So that we don't need a motion then.
Well, except for, yeah, well,
It's statutory, it doesn't need a motion.
Well, that was what I thought.
Yes. There's a formula.
That's what it's
in
on
this-
the
in the
yeah,
code
I
that
don't have
says
a
that.
problem with that. But we do take our fees out because I have,
Also
you know,
statutory.
yeah, right. So I guess it's up to you.
A consensus to proceed may do it.
Well, how about this? If it does need abatement, can we do it?
You need to do
Well, if
whatever
you got
statutory.
more,
Just in case.
if we got more money than is,
Yes, we did.
okay, then there's no need for an abatement. No, we're not abating anything.
Proceed with,
Because we're gonna pay up those old taxes the way they are, and then we're going to disperse the rest of the money to the taxing entities by the
I would
levies.
accept that.
Okay.
Right.
So, and that, you're right, is statutory, and our fees are too, so.
I will make a motion that we
Proceed.
proceed with as statutory protocol.
Second?
He's gonna make a motion that we follow the law.
Yep. At least we're on record that we said go ahead and do it. That'd be the same
I'll
as,
second your motion.
there we go. It's just saying that we said go ahead and do whatever you're supposed to do.
Okay.
To simplify pagans. All in favor?
Right.
Opposed? Do what you're supposed to do. That's what you call real politicians.
I don't know.
Does anybody want to do something with that weed deal? I think that we have a very good idea to look around the neighborhood and look for an enclosure that'll hold 50 to 100 gallons of something. Whether it be in one of our other departments, because I'm looking at Jeff over there, in a building that we could put a storage bin of some kind in, where there isn't people all the time. Rather than, this is just my thing, whether to incorporate a whole nother building and a heat source for it and all that, just getting it wired and all that
Yeah.
stuff costs us a terrific amount of money. If we got a building there, I like your idea of a big metal cabinet or something that you can shut the door off with a lock on. If you have to duct tape the door shut in the winter time to keep the smell down, do it, you know, but, cause you ain't
But
gonna.
if you got one of them, what you're talking about, you could actually put that out there in that open face shed. And then you could use it in the summertime to put his cameras in. It's not
Sit inside.
It's not inside his office. I mean, wherever you put it, it's gonna be in order. What the insurance didn't like is that it was in his office is where it was at. And it really should have never been in his office to begin with.
But just any enclosed container or some kind would do that. And if you had to set it inside of a building that was heated, so you didn't have to heat it in the winter time, you could seal it up one way or the other.
Like Jim said, like 10 Mile Tavern, if they have a old box off the truck that they use.
That's what I was just, that's what I was just thinking, like a van box off of a 1-ton dually with a roll-up door. You know, you can lock that door.
Old surplus to ambulance. You know, just anything that's got a
Because,
lot
I mean, we're
of.
not talking that he's gonna have cases upon cases upon cases of carryover, because if he does, it's ordering too much.
Yeah, too much at one time. You just said he's gonna go get a 200
James.
gallon jug to try to finish up, you know.
James had pointed out that the locker plant has got big walk-ins.
Yeah.
So they need help getting rid of the old ones.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
they have
what a
something
deal.
to help you out.
Well, yeah, let's do a little investigation that way. Let's, Doug, do you wanna go or do you want the highway department to go?
Jeff is pressed for time and I plan on being here all afternoon, so.
Jeff, I'll pour one over if you got, ready?
Well, we saved a bunch of money.
Good.
No trouble.
We saved it for the time being.
Yeah.
Mike might come back to visit us.
What did they get up to?
Oh, about 25 and higher. There was some that was lower, but ones you didn't really want. They had issues, so.
Yeah, we know.
It was kind of a timing thing on our part. I was talking to Gibb and Jeff stepped up for a minute. They've been going through, they had 10 trucks in one block. One got bid, they went for 5 more minutes. So we sat there for an hour and a half thinking. So we threw 25,000 at the last truck and Jeff went to grab something to eat. And in the meantime, the last 5 minutes come down, they ran out, closed it. So we just out.
So what are we gonna do?
Well, we tried.
We're okay. I mean, yeah, we got an old Oshkosh that's got the snow plow equipment on that I don't like. And I bought a plow mounts for it. We can put a plow on that. We'll still have 5 plows besides blades.
In other words, you're still looking.
Yeah.
We're still looking, but we got time. The sky's not falling.
Yeah, I just hate them old trucks that you spend 25,000, I still have an old truck. You know, we've all lived that deal.
That's what she needs. She asked me about this. How much? She had asked me about that one.
Can I do the first one, Jeff?
Sure.
When the truck got wrecked, the adjuster came from our insurance company, and they totaled the truck. So, correct me if I'm wrong, we paid $12,500 for it, and they totaled it for 13 and change. So they're actually willing to give us more than we paid for it. For $750 pulled off of what they would pay us, Jeff can keep the truck, which means he can harvest whatever he wants for parts and tires and whatever else. And then there's a $100 deductible. So the question is, can Jeff keep the truck?
Do you think, is that your advice to us? That we keep
I
it?
would say there's double that in tires on it. The tires are really good.
Makes sense.
It sounds good that they gave us 13, but obviously that won't replace the used truck. You know, it's half enough to replace the used truck. But it is what it is. So you ain't gonna give them, probably get replacement value.
Consensus is yes. Motion is just ink on paper, so they're cheap. But it means more.
I'll make a motion to keep the
Yep, I'll second.
salvage truck.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
The transportation plan has been approved. I'm not sure, is there more that we need to do that?
Well, there was a discussion about a public hearing. Is that just the very first time or is it each year?
Each year, we did that in February, which covers the rest of this year, so we don't actually have to have another hearing till October next year.
Cross that off.
Move it to October next year.
Yeah,
So February,
we'll probably do it as early is better, but it isn't due till October 15th is the deadline, has to be done, so, yeah, we'll probably,
I'll just pencil it in.
yeah, I think that'd be good, we'll know by then. We'll just get it done, so we're not last minute.
We shouldn't do anything before a deadline, should we?
Well, yeah, it's always a timing thing. So,
Hopefully some things get done, so it has to be readjusted a little bit before it's put back up there.
Yeah.
With any luck.
yeah, there's always adjustments. On the small structure funding, I got an email from Alti, and they're willing to do that, inventory for us. I mean, they've already done the inventory, but now I don't know, they're not gonna charge the full 75,000 that we got. They're kind of unclear what it's gonna be too, but it's gonna be most of it, I would say, because the way they're talking. But that's what the fund was set up for when they wrote the check to us, was to get the inventory taken care of, so I almost think that we should approve doing it just because, you know, they're in contact with DOT and they know what they're expecting and they'll get it done, and then we won't have any glitches along the way when we do want to replace structures.
They inventoried all culverts and structures.
All culverts and structures except for 5 townships, and I think he'll work on that if we approve
hiring them to do the inventory. So the money's set aside to pay them anyway. That's what it's for. And if we don't do it, it will be glitched all the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how many times have they done it before?
We've never done it, have we?
I think basically they got it done, don't they?
Hasn't he done it?
He's taken the inventory. He hasn't got it on GIS yet. I haven't seen it, but they were doing the inventory when they were doing the signing work. They were counting signs and getting the planning done for the signing. That's supposed to take place next year. But while they did that, they agreed to count our culverts and put them on an inventory also. As a favor, we hired them. Well, now they've got the information, but they will go ahead and finish it up and get it on GIS so that Piers got it the way I would say Piers got it the way they want it. It's all in an effort to know what they've got as an inventory so they know how much money they need to be throwing at it. They have no idea what they have right now. They don't know what the needs are, so.
Well, I make a motion,
Before you do that, can you make sure there's a caveat that we gotta find out what the bidding specifications are because of the amount?
Oh.
And hopefully he would know, so I would
Um,
say contingent on the fact that it meets bidding law.
Okay. We'll make a motion that we hire them with a contingent for the qualifies under, for the bidding, qualifies under bidding process.
I'll second his motion.
And do we need to add these other 5 unorganized counties or townships to that motion? Because he hasn't got those done yet, is that correct?
Are we sure that they're unorganized?
They were townships that did not participate in the signing project.
Okay, they're not necessarily unorganized.
they're organized.
Okay.
Because the unorganized township, that's a problem that we're in.
Sorry.
What is that dollar amount?
When I looked, it was 50, but that's like when you make an improvement, this is more of a service. You know, it's almost all labor rather than buying a piece of material.
What was your caveat you're saying about the
It
5?
was just these 5 townships that he has, if I understood correctly, Jeff, he hasn't done yet.
Very soon. They didn't get included on the signing, so
Okay.
they just didn't.
But would they be included?
Will he include that?
I think they would.
I guess I'd make my motion contingent that they do have the
Yeah.
5 counties in,
Yeah,
or townships.
Yeah.
I'll
that
second
was what
that.
I was getting
Yeah.
at, thank you.
This is more detailed. It's got do you have the paper to sign?
I think I'm pretty sure I do, because you gave me. I just don't have it in this folder.
Okay. We got a first and a second.
So to restate the motion is basically to enter in the agreement with Alti, so long as it includes 5 township and it complies with the state bidding law.
Yes.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries under them contingents.
Do you want me to cover the rest of that?
Yeah.
Basically, what it's saying is that each of the townships that want to participate would essentially do what the county did to get into the big fund. They create their own plan, what their priorities are, and then they submit it to you. So you guys end up being that review board for those townships, and then you would approve the distribution of the funds from the next wave of money. And so I honestly don't know what that all looks like, if there's a template that's in existence for you guys to look at, or how that plays out. And when we talked about it at various meetings, it hasn't been done yet. But because this thing is fairly new and it's in its infancy, they're still learning computer as well, so.
But the townships would probably have to do,
They would
have to do 11.
They would, yeah. And so I included on here a list of the ones that I have recorded with opt-outs, which automatically qualify. And then there's also a list of townships that have the road and bridge levy, 50 cents per thousand. They automatically qualify, so
If they're at 50 cents, correct?
I believe that's correct.
Cause you guys are at 50 cents.
We're at 40 cents.
Oh,
Miller Township is at 25 cents.
So they would have to go up to 50 cents.
And I asked the lady at that meeting in Highmore, I said if they don't have a road and bridge levy at one in place at all, or at 50 cents per thousand, I says because they can't change it or put it in place until their March meeting is when state law says that they can implement that tax on themselves. I said, so if they don't have it, or if they change it in March, is that gonna be good enough to go back to qualify for this? She goes, we never thought of that, so I don't know if that's been clarified yet as to, the ones that don't have it at 50 cents, which they're requiring, or the ones that don't have one yet, are gonna qualify for any of this first round of money for 22.
And it doesn't specify what their amount of the opt-out has to be either, so conceivably they can
And
opt out for $500 and be qualified.
And that seems funny to me when they're mandating that road and bridge tax be at the maximum 50 cents per thousand. I don't know, but it's basically just like our wheel tax. Before you're gonna get some money from the state, you better show some responsibility on your part,
What is it that Ohio does that no other townships do in terms of the surtax?
Well, we were the first township to implement that road and bridge tax. It was passed in 2015.
This very one, you mean?
This one we're talking about, that's 50 cents per thousand maximum.
And how many are doing it now?
I don't know.
Probably 10.
Out of all our townships? Okay.
We started at 25, and last spring we raised it to 40 cents. Trucking and gravel and whatever keeps going up, and basically with what we're collecting this year, we could gravel a mile of road.
Do we know why the other townships have not followed suit and implemented the same tax?
When they furnish their materials to me, there's really no explanation of their discussion behind.
Can you see from the minutes of the meetings whether it's even been discussed?
Only if they approve it.
Okay.
If they were to make a motion to set the levy, then I would see.
I wonder if they're aware of it.
I sent out material for the annual meetings that talked about that.
Okay.
I think that's something that if the townships haven't discussed it and aren't aware of, you're gonna have to tax yourself a little bit to be able to get assistance anymore.
Yeah.
And it's not a lot of money, like for Ohio Township, at 40 cents, it's about $12,000 a year, it costs 11,000 and something to gravel a mile of road in our township. So, like I said, it's not a huge amount of money, but if the state's gonna say, you've gotta show a little bit of responsibility on your part if you wanna ask us for money, that's just what the future is gonna be.
Those help themselves.
That's the other thing is if you spend this much money to figure it all out, if no one could utilize it, what good is it do? Or if no one's gonna utilize it, does it benefit us? As a county?
Well, it'll benefit the county through the structures, just knowing what structures we need to, for when you're doing your 5-year plan. That's gonna help the county out, and it'll help these townships out coming to be able to have something done,
Well,
maybe bigger than they can handle.
if they have enough dollars.
Yeah. That's their opinions. They first need to know the need, what they're dealing with.
And I think they're really pushing for some forward-thinking, progressive decision-making instead of reactive decision-making all the time. And that's really about where townships are at. They don't replace a culvert that had already caved in, That's been our township for a lot of years. The decisions are all reactive.
Much of life is.
Hmm.
Much of life is.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so equipment. I struggle with that, but that said, I think we're setting okay, and the graders are getting old. Those are one of the things that we're gonna have to either start replacing. I really wanna wait till next year to see what Sioux Falls is gonna do with their graders. In light of what's going on with the equipment raising, I don't know if that's the right thing to be doing, but I think it's worth the wait before we just start jumping in and buy brand new ones. I did get a quote from Jerry, so she tells me he's only good through the end of the month, and $339,600 for a new grader without snow equipment. That's a bare machine, and that doesn't have grade control on it. So that's kind of a today's standard of bare bones grader, but it does have the Premier Circle. It's a nice outfit. But
Hopefully a little bit nice.
he said
4,000.
they expect him to be 50,000 higher next year.
Oh my gosh.
So he's giving us the opportunity to jump at it if we want to, but I still prefer we wait another year. That's my thought.
Well, maybe our used value goes up too.
It should.
Oh, yeah, I think the used is real. That's what you see happening with these trucks and stuff. It's just- They've doubled, over doubled from what they sold for last year.
Yeah.
But have you had any time to work on our inventory list and our age list on our machinery?
Yes, I've got. This is kind of in a nutshell. Chris put it on 2 pages. You got about 25, 30 pages of reports on it, but
We could probably just run some copies and the board could kind of look at them for next meeting or something. And if they had any questions for you, we could go over them
that might be better. Take a
without
review.
getting really long and in depth about it. That way everybody could come up with their own questions for what's going on there. You got kind of payoffs on them, the ones that still owe money on them.
I got the purchase price on it and what it's worth is, that's kind of the hard part about it. When you're trying to figure out replacement costs and where your debt service line needs to be, that is the replacement cost.
You got it on there though, which ones we're still making payments on though, or for how long?
Yes, we only have 2 pieces of equipment we're making payments on, and that's the pug mill and the loader. The loader's paid off next year. Pug mill the year after that, we're.
What are those 2 line items total annually?
These 2 pages?
No,
Pug
just the
mill.
pug mill.
They're about 100,000.
Oh my gosh, I remember when it was 3 times.
Well, yeah, that's why I was gonna mention, 5 years ago at this time, we went through 4 or 5 different pieces that had payments from 1 year to 5 left on it.
Yeah.
We're kind of drawing this thing down to end finally. But at the same time, all our machinery costs are doubling on us and there's some stuff needing to update. I wish this could happen a little quicker so we would have been up to speed a little quicker, but it's not. It's timing, it's life, you know. But at least we're in a position that we ain't got payments on 15 pieces of equipment. And I know that's an exaggeration, but there was times we had payments on 10.
Yeah.
There's a lot. So.
That
So what we
dozer,
got
is that
is
dozer? The dozer is,
Just paid for.
we didn't pay for that.
Yeah, it was paid that
We
way.
just paid it out.
And that's the beauty of our stuff is paid for now, pretty much.
That is nice.
That is
But
nice.
it's time to start.
Yeah, just like these trucks do that stuff. But anyway, would that work for you, Jeff, if we just have them make some copies, yeah, and give everybody a
Sure,
copy?
if you need anything else, you want expense reports, I can have reports clear back the time we bought them, so you know what they cost. It's pretty extensive, but it's pretty accurate. So, yeah,
Let Doug scan those and email them to us, right?
okay, I'll do that.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that. So,
I think that's all I've got.
I think it will help with our decisions on blades, you know, when they come available to know what our debt service is and how old some of that stuff is.
Sure will. know whether we're replacing 1, 2, or 3, or like this truck situation, you know, if we'd been up to speed last year, maybe we'd already replaced 2 or 3 of them things last year. Hard to keep track of all that, chase their
It is. It's interesting to go back and look at the expense report, you know, your trailers, there's hardly any, it's just tires and brakes. And trucks, the M-Dum trucks are one of the cheapest things we've owned. It's crazy. That sounds, they're older when we buy them, but we don't put a lot of money in them. The semi-trucks, which I would have had a chance to do that over, I'd stayed away from the newer ones. The DEF has been nothing but eating us alive. We should have bought older trucks and went that route. That's hindsight, but
Yeah. And we're coming into the age where you're not gonna be able to find it.
you can't duck it forever, for sure. So,
All right, thank you, Jeff.
all right, thank you guys.
If I can ask a question, there's been 2 accidents now, where we've had, county vehicles that have been damaged and totaled. And I'm not getting anything, that's happened to alert the public that that's happened. Can I get a report on that when that happens, when we have an accident like that? Can I get something either from the sheriff or from the department, or you, whoever, when that happens, that we could just put a, thing in the paper that this happened at this date, at this time, type of thing, so that's, because we hear rumor, and I'd like to put something in the paper that would be fact.
It seems like the most appropriate source for that kind of information would be the agency that is investigating the matter. So the sheriff's office.
So sheriff's office.
That's who you need to talk to.
Can I get a statement on this one, because he's gonna be written, so I know he's pretty old by this point, but if I can get one when those happen. Hopefully, I never have to put another one in.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, we got a lot of moving parts, we're gonna have accidents.
Yes, you do.
Okay, thanks, Jeff, appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff.
Can we have a little break?
Yeah, we're doing good. Take 5.
Hey, how's it going? Good? How are you?
Good, how are you?
Not nothing. Douglas, how's it going?
Good, that's Exodus here.
You guys just, everybody's sleeping.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just
Just again.
So.
So you're. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Well,
in here. Who is it? Which one? Is it all of them? Right? It's not Jim.
I purposely don't smell people. I mean, literally, people are like, did you smell the person just got?
Nope. But it
It
definitely.
makes, it, from a small child, it can be ill.
Oh,
Nope. I have to use scent-free detergents, all that sort of stuff. I can't use any type of perfume, anything like that. It has to be unscented.
yeah.
So what you get is good.
Good.
Because if I get,
Getting that office within shape now.
Oh my gosh.
Little
It's like I'll get up like halfway and then it's like, oh jeez. It'll be fine. Just give me a little bit of time.
Yeah, it takes a year to get in and get going.
nothing.
And even after a year, somebody's gonna throw you a curveball.
I'm sure Susie fills you in, so no,
Nope, I don't hear a whole lot from her.
we don't.
Nope.
We have fun.
She does her thing and I do mine.
Yeah, it's very interesting, but
So are you coming in front of us today?
no, I'm just here to.
Okay, I was just wondering. I thought maybe we had
I am
something.
not talking about this. I have a folder. I'm interested to see if anybody shows up and you heard it, if anybody's coming
For
for
the,
the ordinance to see
I don't know.
against it or
I have no idea.
inquiring about it. No, I'm not coming before us.
Okay.
Nope.
Oh,
I live in the corner back here.
I like,
This is where I belong, in the corner.
I don't blame you one bit.
I gotta try one more drink of coffee.
I don't know, it's pretty strong.
I got creamer in my fridge.
Not me, I don't, if I drank coffee now, I wouldn't sleep all night.
Sleep, yeah.
I wouldn't sleep all night.
I drink a pot of coffee, go to bed.
I don't drink coffee. I don't.
Once you get so much caffeine in you, actually, it will make you sleep.
Well,
That's where I'm usually at.
I like the smell of coffee, I will.
My mom and dad made coffee, and had made coffee, and they were coffee drinkers. But basically, it's like light colored water. Very, very weak, and they drink it.
You're claiming neutrality, you have nothing to do with it.
They'll probably, for the two of them, they will make 6 pots of coffee a day.
But, I had-
It's so weak that people are like, is this even coffee? Yes, it is.
well, this tells you how much coffee I drink. I was, all our family, my family all coming back for hunting season, and I got up in the morning and I figured out I'll make coffee for them. So the coffee pot was a 20 pot coffee. I've never made coffee before, so the little spoons that are in there, I put 20 of them in there.
Oh my.
And I made it. My brother comes up
Hello.
and he took a drink of it and he says, who the hell made this coffee? I said, I did. They ran, I don't know how many times through there and it was still good. He said, what did you do? I said, I figured a scoop to a cup. He goes, no, you only needed like 3 or 4 scoops of the whole thing. And he said,
You need more than that.
well, this thing here, I think if you took your spoon and stand up.
Well, there's nothing worse than church based on coffee. Cheap old ladies.
Oh, yeah.
Funeral coffee with chocolate.
Well, then you'd probably love my coffee.
I might have.
I think you probably would have. Nowadays, everybody give me hell about my coffee.
My dad puts in 2 level tablespoons for a 12 pot, for a 12 pot. 2 level tablespoons. 10 tablespoons, level it off,
Scoop for every cup.
that's all you get.
It was a little strong.
I like to fill the second half of mine with that extreme tip.
I didn't hear that.
But I think that's where it is.
I didn't hear what he said. I like to fill half of my cup with ice.
My son actually drinks, my son drinks that stuff. he makes a pot of coffee at Grandma's house, and puts it in a thermos, and then Dad will make a pot of coffee, and he'll just rinse out the filter, that stays in there, he just rinses it out, puts it in there, runs it through, because there's so much coffee left in there. That's enough of that. My mom.
Are we going on to that
My
now?
mom.
We can't till 3.
Till 3, I just was.
I think we're gonna go to Doug.
You don't know what we're gonna do.
Gentlemen, you're ready? Okay, presently there are 2 budgets that are over their spending authority. The first one being court appointed attorney, which was originally $20,000. It's over by minus 440. Of course, by the end of the month, it'll have a different number. And so that and the defense of abuse and neglected children, we just need to set up a hearing to do a budget supplement. And then I'll also query the other departments and see where they're at, if anybody else does.
500 or 5,000?
$5,440.
Would
And
we,
the other one was $996, so.
would we be talking about Commissioner's contingency fund to make up the difference or some other?
Well, when I talked to legislative about it, they said basically what you do when you supplement a budget is you grant additional spending authority. And so if there's cash in the cash fund that feeds that budget.
And we have sufficient?
Yeah.
Okay, so we
We
don't
don't
have to
have, no, you just need to set, if you're so inclined, the date for a public hearing to do the budget supplement.
And then, do we have to give a specific amount for that supplement?
We will at that time.
Because obviously we're gonna have more than that by the end of the year.
So I would suggest that we do it at the next regular meeting, which is on November. Second?
Yeah. Do we need a motion to do that?
Yeah.
So moved.
I'll second.
Just strictly for a supplement here.
And do you have a preference on time of day?
Say it again?
Do you have a preference on the time?
Well, if it's our regular
Starting the
meeting.
meeting at
doesn't make
1
much
o'clock.
difference.
And it's gonna be public. So it's gonna have a set time.
Oh,
It's at 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock, start of our meeting,
yeah.
because the supplement's gotta get done.
Right.
so.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 o'clock.
Did you call for votes?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Any other discussion? So do we want to add on any other budget supplement besides this one at that time?
These are just the ones I'm bringing to your attention, and then I'll analyze the others.
But there might be more on
those, and then bring those. It actually will appear in the public notice.
Okay, that'll be in the public. All in favor? Opposed? Budget, all right.
All right, so the next item is on screen or on your screen, whichever you prefer. It's a letter that was requested by the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance. And essentially what it is they just want to make sure that you guys are aware and that I'm not acting without authority. When we took those board members, the lead board and the library board, and moved them to a per diem basis, then essentially cut off their workman's comp. So this letter states that that's what you have. Now, the important thing to remember is if they trip and fall in our facility, they can still file a property claim. So
Who wrote that letter?
I did.
That's a very well-written letter.
Was it? Thank
Yes.
you.
Very tactful, very diplomatic. I thought it was great.
Good, thank you. So the question then becomes, this is more of like reaffirming this philosophy of the insurance company so that somebody doesn't come back later and say, oh, you tricked me. So if you're inclined to approve it,
I move that we approve it.
Second.
Are these people all aware that they're not covered under?
I was told by their department heads they were made aware of it. But I can make sure and send them each a letter if you like.
It's only under the most restrictive of circumstances that this would ever come into play for any of them. It really is.
Right.
Right.
Because none of them, according to my knowledge, actually do any kind of physical work at any of these facilities. They basically are attendees.
But if you worked at the library while they were re-roofing it, somebody dropped something off the roof onto your head, you'd fall.
Workman's comp.
These
But
are
then
board
when-
members.
Right. Yeah, Mike Donlin would be the only one I could think of in your illustration.
Yeah.
Mike, participate in something of that nature.
Well, one of our employees that was walking into the building, something fell off the roof.
Then we have a liability.
As long as they're forever not covered.
But no, what I can do is I can make sure that each of them get a copy so they understand, one, that they probably should be performing later, and two, they're not covered if they do.
So we
That
have-
probably would be a good thing,
we
to
have
send
a-
a letter.
We have a motion and a second. Did we have a second? I didn't hear it.
Yes.
Jim Eschenbaum, seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and I'm gonna sign right here, because you guys told me. I'm obedient servant.
Okay, the next item is redistricting, which I'll be honest with you, turned out to be much, much easier than I expected. I was kind of really dwelling on this, but what you see on the screen is very squatty.
It's not up there.
TV went to sleep.